We're talking about gun grabbers, not just in Maryland, but all over. We turn our attention to Massachusetts, where a hilarious video has been posted by a group called Reality Always Wins. And the title of the video is Live Free, or in Massachusetts, a reference to the live free or die mentality of New Hampshire. So that is our neighbor to the south, and I am so grateful not to live there. You know, if I were to want to go shooting here in New Hampshire, all I would have to do is pick up a gun and find a place to shoot and just go and shoot. That's not a crime, as long as I'm like 300 feet away from a house or something like that. I would normally go to a range, though.
So it's like smoking cigarettes in California.
Yes, unfortunately. But no, it's pretty free here, and even though I've been recently denied my concealed carry license, as some listeners are familiar, I can still carry a gun. I can still open carry. I can still go to a shooting range and all that stuff. But in Massachusetts, I would need to pay $100 a year just for the privilege of bringing a gun down to go shooting. Ridiculous. So, like, I have friends in Massachusetts who have guns, who I would want to go shooting with. If I want to go visit them, $100. So, I mean, am I going to pay $100 to the state of Massachusetts for the privilege of shooting a gun on their territory? And how did they acquire that territory? How is it legitimately owned? It's not. Anyway,
they killed the people who lived there before.
Oh yeah, that's legit. Well, here's the video from Reality Always Wins. I think it's instructive and funny. Take a look.
Hi, I'd like to exercise my right to keep and bear arms by purchasing a sidearm.
Sorry, sir, but you're going to have to wait several months, and even then you might not be able to purchase the gun that you want.
Several months and I can't get what I want? Are you kidding? Oh no, here comes the bureaucrat from the coffee shop.
You can apply for an FID, which is shall issue for non-large capacity rifles, or an LTCB, which is may issue for large capacity rifles and non-large capacity handguns, but not for concealed carry, and then also an LTCA, which is for large capacity handguns and large capacity rifles, which is again may issue. And where the license can have further restrictions on the LTCA, such as employment, target and hunting, sporting, none, or where you may or may not concealed carry, or any other arbitrary restriction that the issuing authority may want.
What did you just say?
You need to apply for permission to do pretty much anything with a firearm in the state.
So if I apply for this license, the state has to give it to me because it's my right, right?
Of course not. You see, police chiefs in each town get to determine if you're suitable, and they can arbitrarily place restrictions on your license or not grant you one at all. If you don't like it, you get to pay for the attorney's fees to try to sue for a right that you were born with.
Wait, so my rights could be respected if I lived in one town, but if I moved, say, one town over, I could potentially lose them if the chief doesn't like me?
Well, we like to refer to them as privileges, because it's easier to defend how we trample all over them.
So how long does the chief have to make a decision about my license application?
Well, the law says 40 days, but in reality they can take as long as they want.
Well, what happens to the chief if the chief doesn't obey the law and fails to give me an answer in 40 days?
Nothing.
Well, then what would happen to me if I don't obey the law and choose to exercise my right to keep and bear arms without the license?
Well, then you'd go to jail.
How the hell is that fair?
Fair? You live in Massachusetts. You also have to deal with Attorney General regulations that block the sale of firearms that are perfectly legal in other states but not in Mass, arbitrary magazine size restrictions, a separate Executive Office of Public Safety list which decides for you which guns are safe enough for you to use and which aren't unless you're a police officer who can purchase one of these non-compliant guns at a dealer, or you could purchase one at an exorbitant markup from someone who moved into the state that already had one in their possession. Plus, a ban on cosmetic features of guns made after an arbitrary date, so-called safe storage requirements that make it more difficult to access your firearm in the case of an emergency, ammo storage permit requirements, and last but not least, a Supreme Judicial Court which thinks that your right to keep and bear arms isn't a personal right, but a collective one, whatever that means. But remember, you have the right to keep and bear arms.
Okay, fine. It looks like I'll just buy some pepper spray for now.
You need a license to carry for that as well.
Okay, what can I actually buy today?
See this flintlock? You can buy that. It's cutting-edge 18th century technology.
Forget this. I'm moving to a free state. This is insane.
Do you have a license to move?
Go suck on a pickle.
Cool, that was fun. I like their video. That was good.
Yeah,
Well,
it was good.
You know, and it was my second time watching it. It gives me hope that it's like the first time I was like just a tee-hee, that was funny, good video. But now the second time watching, I'm like, this gives me hope for a free future because people who create funny cartoon videos are way smarter and way cooler than any bureaucrat or politician who comes up with endless rules for everyone to live by, or else they get sent to the rape rooms. And people are going to see how ridiculous that is, that like there's just some nerd in a, with a pocket protector saying, you can't do that, and then somehow you get thrown in a rape room for exercising your freedom to defend yourself. And then this guy in the video, he's not a scary dude. The people who are going to follow the laws and be like, okay, what can I do? What am I allowed to do? What forms do I need to fill out? Who do I have to pay for permission to exercise my rights? They're not the scary criminals that these bureaucrats are afraid of. So they're not even working. They're not protecting
I
anyone.
don't think the bureaucrats are afraid of scary criminals. I think the bureaucrats just like the people to be afraid of scary criminals. I think the bureaucrats just like having their T's crossed and their I's dotted and their boxes checked and their paperwork filled out.
Wow. That's a good point. I never really realized that. I sort of thought that the bureaucrats, I just assumed that they like to restrict people's gun ownership, but you're right. It's probably more just a gleeful paperwork exercise.
I think it's some sort of like psychological, like a feeling of completion when the form is all pristine and done and can go in the right slot. I think that they get a sort of weird sort of sense of accomplishment when a form is filled out.
Because I experienced that in school. Like if I were trained just slightly differently, if my upbringing had been a little different, I might be one of these gun-grabbing bureaucrat neo-Nazis who's in school I liked filling out these papers and having everything perfect, and was a real perfectionist about following all the rules. It was really once I got out of high school that I realized all of that was pointless, that I got really mad at all of these rules that I had followed that were just made no sense. They were totally pointless.
Yeah.
So fortunately I didn't end up like that guy in the video, but I think we're all gonna live free because of things like that video.